Welcome to Sasol's flagship production facility at Secunda, a factory complex that proudly pursues a path of excellence in safety. At Sasol, we believe that there is no higher priority than safety, and we believe that all safety-related incidents are preventable. And we are therefore committed to continuously improve to eliminate all safety incidents and to reach a state of zero harm. As a global manufacturer and supplier of chemicals, Sasol produces concentrated gases and chemicals that may be harmful to your health should you be exposed to them. Safety is our foremost priority, and all people entering Sasol's facilities must know and adhere to all safety rules in order to create and ensure a safe working environment. At Sasol Solvents, we are all, individually and collectively, accountable for our own safety and the safety of those around us. And we expect the same competence and safety performance from service providers as what we do from our own employees. Safety and warning signs can be found throughout the Sasol plant. These signs must be adhered to at all times, and anyone who ignores such signs is guilty of an offence and may face immediate dismissal. It is also important to know the colour coding and symbolic safety signs. Symbolic safety signs are used as a warning and information signs to help identify dangerous areas as well as the prevention of accidents and incidents. Paying attention to a sign may save your life. It is compulsory for all visitors to wear personal protective equipment in production areas as indicated. The following personal protective equipment or PPE is compulsory at all times in production areas. Safety shoes, a hard hat, eye protection. Note that no dark glasses are permitted. Ear protection, gloves, and flame retardant overalls. Other PPE, such as dust masks and acid suits, may be required in certain areas. This list does not cover all the PPE you may require. You will also require the PPE specific to your job, such as a face shield and welding apron for welders. This will be specified in your task risk assessment. Hazardous products such as acids, acetones, alcohols, hydrogen and nitrogen are found in the Sasol Solvents working environment. These products are liable to be either highly flammable, toxic, corrosive or non-life sustaining and are therefore extremely dangerous. But with the necessary preventative methods, these products can be handled safely. However, most of these products are colorless and odorless. But if you are exposed to them, they can cause irreparable damage to the skin, loss of eyesight, damage to the lungs and other internal organs, as well as fatalities. Therefore, all safety regulations related to these products cannot be taken lightly. When entering an area where these products or hazards may be encountered, always take the following preventative safety steps. Check the work permit for any additional PPE required. Remember, the compulsory PPE discussed earlier will not be listed, but will always be required. And check the possible hazards associated with the equipment you will be working on. Familiarize yourself with your immediate work area. Check for an escape route in the case of fire or gas leak, and mark the locations of the closest eye bath and emergency shower. Never ingest or inhale any gas, vapor, spray or liquid found on the plant, and only drink water from safe, clearly marked points. If an accident should however occur and you are exposed to any hazardous materials, the following emergency steps should be taken. Flush your eyes with running water from the eye bath for as long as possible. or wash your body under an emergency shower for at least 20 minutes and remove all contaminated clothing immediately. And finally, seek immediate medical attention and report the incident to your supervisor. One of our top risks on site is fires and explosions. Sources of ignition may include the following: furnaces, pyrophoric catalyst that will ignite spontaneously when exposed to air, sparks from electrical equipment, drilling, grinding, generators, vehicles, high-pressure cleaning machines, welding, metal spray, switchgear, cameras, and mobile telephones. To prevent fires and explosions, take the following precautions. All work, including the taking of photos, requires a permit. Never do any work without a permit. Check work permits for possible hazards and controls. Make sure gas tests are performed as stipulated on the permit. Stop all hot work in the vicinity immediately if you see any spillage and report the release to the closest production official. If you break a flange and notice any product still in the line, immediately pull up the flange, stop any hot work in the vicinity and report this to the closest production official. Drains and funnels within 11 meters of all hot work should be covered and wetted. Welding cocoons must always be completely closed to contain any sparks. All electrical equipment must be inspected by Solvents electrical department and declared fit for use. Vehicles must always be escorted by a safety watcher with a fire extinguisher and may only drive on the route as identified by the permit issuer. All hot work activities must have a safety watcher with a fire extinguisher within sight of the work, and the safety watcher must remain on site for at least 1 hour after the hot work has stopped. This includes lunch. Never take a mobile phone on the plant, not even when switched off, and never smoke in the plant. Sasol has installed fire and gas alarms placed at strategic points throughout its operations in Secunda. The fire alarms are marked red and the gas alarms are marked yellow. Any person who discovers a fire or gas leak must immediately activate the nearest gas or fire alarm and inform the nearest production person. A siren will be activated on the plant, and the alarm on the alarm panel in the control room will be activated. When an alarm is heard, contractors must stop their work, close gas bottles, switch off welding machines and all other electrical equipment, and move out of the area to the emergency assembly point. In the case of a fire alarm, all people have to evacuate to the control rooms, and in the case of a gas alarm, all people must move upwind out of the plant. In other words, evacuate as quickly as possible with consideration of the wind direction. Here, steam can be a helpful indication of the wind direction. The Sasol factories are protected by full-time emergency and security staff, and its firefighting teams are exceptionally qualified and supported by state-of-the-art equipment. Full-scale emergency exercises are furthermore practiced at regular intervals to provide the opportunity for emergency response skills to be improved. Emergency equipment is available on site in case an emergency arises. These are clearly indicated and consist of fire hydrants, fire monitors, tank spray systems, fire boxes, fire extinguishers, BA sets, safety showers and eye baths. In addition, a medical center is available on site to cater for emergencies. You may never tamper with any emergency equipment on site, and may not remove any equipment from boxes or store any tools, materials or items in these boxes. You may not put down any tools or materials in front of this equipment. No temporary structure such as scaffolding may stop people getting to the emergency equipment, and no horseplay with any fire or gas alarms is allowed under any circumstances. All work requires a permit. No permit, no work. The conditions and precautions stated on the permit must be followed to the letter. There are 3 types of work permits. These are a hot work permit, a cold work permit, and a confined space entry permit. The term hot work permit is used for any work done in an area where the way of work would cause a fire or explosion. According to this permit, there are certain requirements and conditions set for doing the hot work in a certain area. The cold work permit is used for work where there is not a possibility or danger of causing a fire or explosion. The third type of work permit is the entry into a confined space. Confined spaces include tanks, columns, sumps, reactors, drums, sewers, tunnels, underground utilities, and inside pipelines and excavations. Only persons declared competent may issue, do safe-making, or receive a work permit. When a permit is requested, the competent permit issuer and recipient will visit the site and determine hazards due to the equipment and processes that are associated with the task. The issuer will conduct a risk assessment and safe-making plan on the work permit. The issuer or dedicated safe maker will then ensure that the equipment is made safe for maintenance work according to the conditions stated in the work permit. Next, the issuer or designated safe maker will tag the equipment with a pink tag stating the permit number and task description. Now that the permit is ready for issuing, the permit issuer or designated person will visit the site with the permit recipient and identify the equipment to be worked on by touch, and make sure the recipient is familiar with the hazards and precautions for the task to be executed. The permit recipient will now sign on the permit and has to ensure that task risk assessments and/or work procedures are in place for the specific task, and that everyone working on the task is up to date with them. That the equipment to be worked on is identified by touch to the task executor. You may never break a flange that has not been tagged and shown by touch. Before breaking any flange, always verify the permit number and task description on the pink tag with the permit that was issued. This task executor or charge hand must always be at the work area when the task is being executed, and has to ensure compliance to all safety rules and permit conditions and the hazards associated with the task. And should conditions change during execution and the task becomes unsafe, the work must be stopped immediately and the permit returned to the permit office. During shift handover, permits must always first be returned to the permit office for reissuing to a new recipient and task executor before work can continue. When the task is completed, the work area must be cleaned and left in good condition. The permit and the pink tags used for identification must be returned to the permit office. The permit issuer or designated person will inspect the area to ensure good housekeeping, and when he has been satisfied, ask the permit recipient and task executor to sign off the permit. Confined spaces are extremely dangerous and kill many workers in the industry each year, as there may not be enough oxygen to breathe in the confined space, and therefore these confined space entries need to be managed carefully. Drums, columns, column skirts, cooling towers, excavations, tanks, pits, reactors, culverts, pipes and any other vessels are confined spaces and need a special permit before entry. You may never enter into a confined space without the necessary permit, not even for a quick look. You cannot hold your breath in a nitrogen-rich atmosphere, and attempting this could lead to serious injury or death. Before a confined space entry permit is issued, the permit issuer must ensure that the atmosphere inside can sustain life and that the atmosphere can be maintained. To do this, the issuer will first issue a permit to install blanks according to the approved blank list on all lines leading into and out of the vessel. The correct installation of these blanks must be verified by both a production and maintenance official and signed off on the blank list. Blank lists also require sign-off that any utilities used for safe-making, such as steam or nitrogen, has been removed before vessel entry is allowed. Once the blank lists have been verified, the permit issuer will test the atmosphere in the confined space to ensure that the oxygen content is above the 21.7% required to sustain life. After the permit is issued for confined space entry, the permit issuer or designated person will do a 4-hourly gas testing to ensure the atmosphere in the confined space remains life-supporting. A standby will be provided for each confined space entry. You may not enter the vessel without signing on the vessel entry lock and handing over your badge to the standby. When exiting the vessel, you must always sign off on the vessel entry lock. Manholes must always be positively barricaded with a do not enter board when a confined space entry is not in progress. Throughout Sasol's working environment, safety procedures and systems have been put in place to protect our workforce from injury. Failure to lock out machinery and equipment may result in mutilation and death. Equipment and machinery that is not locked out may be started remotely by any other person without warning and have the potential to cause serious injury or death. When correctly locked out or isolated, the equipment to be worked on will have a zero state of energy, which means that all personnel can work safely on the equipment. The lock and key system is a positive means of preventing any other person from opening a valve or activating an electrical isolator on the equipment being worked on. Always test to ensure isolation was effective. When locking out electrical equipment and pumps that are out for maintenance, the keys of the locks used for electrical and mechanical isolation will be put in a caliper. Their permit issuer, electrical official and recipient will each lock the caliper with a separate lock. The task executor must also lock the caliper before starting with the work. The method of isolation and discharge of energy may only be determined and executed by a person declared competent for such duties. Check your work permit for details on the requirements and conditions for lockout and isolation. Ultra-high pressure cleaning is frequently used on site to clean condensers and reboilers. This water pressure is so high that it will amputate or severely damage any body part that it comes into contact with. This could lead to serious injury and death. To prevent contact with the high pressure water, the following rules must be adhered to. High pressure cleaning areas must always be barricaded. All hoses, equipment, lancers and PPE should be inspected regularly and be in a good condition at all times. All hose connections must at all times have whiplash protection. Auto feeders shall at all times be used, and a hard scaffold plate barricade shall be installed at the tube side outlet. Working at heights without proper precautions places a person's life at risk, and may lead to serious and fatal incidents. Disciplined behavior regarding working at heights is therefore an absolute prerequisite for a safe work environment. All work carried out above 1.5 meters from the ground must either be done from a safe platform or the use of fall arrest equipment is required. A safe platform is a permanent platform or declared safe scaffold. The status of a scaffold is determined by the color of the board attached to the scaffold. If it is red, it is still unsafe to use. Once it has been inspected and found safe for use, a green card will be placed on the scaffold. Scaffolds should be inspected every 7 days to ensure they are still safe for use. The date of the last inspection is shown on the back of the green card. Always check whether a scaffold has been inspected and is safe to use. Never use a scaffold with a red card. Only competent scaffold builders with the necessary permit may modify scaffolding. A handrail may never be removed without a grating removal form and necessary permit. Where handrails have been removed, this must always be replaced with a hard barricade for the duration of the handrail being out. The use of fall arrest equipment is also required when working on or near unprotected sides, leading edges, holes, formwork or reinforcing steel, above dangerous equipment and excavations that may be obscured by structures or plant growth. Users of fall arrest equipment must ensure that it is inspected by a competent person on a weekly basis. When using fall arrest equipment, the user must ensure that the anchor point is high enough for the fall arrest equipment to be effective, and when moving around, that at least one of the 2 lanyards is always secured. When climbing cat ladders, all tools must always be carried in tool bags, and radios should be secured in a pouch. No person is permitted to carry any tools or radio in his hand or pocket. When working on tall columns or structures, all bolts and nuts must at all times be secured in bags to prevent falling objects which may lead to severe injury or death. And never throw any equipment or material from an elevated platform. An accident or fatal injury may just be a few seconds away. Any activity that requires the lifting with machinery and lifting tackle at Sasol Solvents is regarded as a lifting operation, and it is noteworthy that a significant number of incidents and injuries are experienced during these lifting and crane operations. To prevent injuries, the following safety precautions are required during lifting operations. Lifting risk assessments must be done before commencing with the task, and hand signal pictograms must be strategically placed at all fixed lifting gear and on mobile cranes. All lifting gear must be numbered and recorded in a register, must be inspected according to the procedures, and overhead beams must be marked with the safe working load. Only a competent person who has been authorized by their area leader may perform lifting operations, and only lifting devices and equipment that have been certified for use may be used. The load, and not the crane, must always be barricaded on all sides, and the rigger must blow a whistle to warn personnel when the lifting operation is in progress. You may never step over a barricade where lifting operations are in progress. No excavation work may take place without approval on the permit for excavation work. Excavations deeper than 1.5 meters must be shored and braced when sloping of the sides are not possible, unless declared safe by a competent, authorized person. Safe means of entering into or climbing out of an excavation must be provided no further than 6 meters from any worker performing tasks. A solid barrier frame at least 1 meter high must be erected as close to the excavation as possible. Warning lights must be provided at night and when visibility is poor. Excavations must be inspected before each shift by a competent, authorized person. And all excavations must at all times display a sign indicating the responsible competent person and contact details for this person. Replacement in kind is replacement with exactly the same or equivalent space or piece of equipment. All changes done to the process or equipment, including changes on material of construction that is not replaced in kind, requires an MOC document, which is authorized by the area leaders of each discipline. No changes may be implemented or operated without this authorization. During welding activities, X-rays are taken to ensure integrity of the weld. X-rays uses a radioactive source which is harmful to your health. Exposure could lead to infertility or serious injury. Remember, due to the nature of radioactive sources, you do not need to be close to the source to be exposed. During X-rays, the affected area will be barricaded with ropes and flags indicating radioactivity. You will also see safety watches with pink hard hats on the perimeter. You may not enter the barricaded area during X-rays. You may only smoke in designated smoking areas. You may never smoke in the plant, a vessel, or a vehicle. You may only eat and drink in the designated mess facilities. Food and drink is not provided on the plant. Always wash your hands before eating, drinking, or smoking to prevent ingestion of hazardous chemicals. Sasol Solvents is a high-risk facility, and you may not sleep at any time while on site, not even during your lunch hour. The use of mobile phones is prohibited in or near all production areas without exception. Sasol Solvents is committed to protecting the environment and to perform daily tasks in such a manner as to minimize impacts on the environment. We therefore expect contractors to act in an environmentally responsible manner when working on the solvents plant. The correct waste bins, which are specially marked for each type of waste they contain, should be used. If unsure, please ask. All chemical or product spillages must be reported to the nearest production official. Any person who may have been affected by the spillage must immediately report to the closest production official. No person is allowed to drive a vehicle or any other equipment without a valid driver's license for the particular vehicle or equipment. The speed limit for light motor vehicles in the primary area is 50 kilometers an hour and 40 kilometers an hour for trucks. In the plants, the speed limit is 20 kilometers an hour. Visitors should obey all traffic signs, give right-of-way to trucks, heavy machinery and rail traffic, and always wear their safety belt while driving on site. Persons being transported by trucks, bakkies or any other vehicle must be seated, and no body parts may hang over the side of the vehicle. The vehicles must have the necessary framework, and there must be a sign that shows the maximum amount of people that may be transported. Cyclists and motorcyclists should at all times wear reflective jackets. And no talking on a cell phone or two-way radio while driving is allowed. Solvents, we use BBS and SLAM processes to help us work safe. At Solvents, we have a fundamental belief that BBS plays an integral role in ensuring a safe work environment. You are therefore required to participate in this process. From time to time, a BBS observer will visit you during the execution of your task. He will engage with you on a number of safety issues, both good and bad. You will be required to give input to any deviations found and must follow the guidance from the person. SLAM is an acronym for STOP. Briefly stop to assess the risks of what you're about to do. Look. What are the hazards of the task? Assess. How can the hazard be managed? Manage. While executing the task, are the controls effective and are the conditions still the same? These questions should always be asked before any job is done and recorded in the SLAM booklets. All employees and contractors are compelled to adhere to the following directives. No alcohol or drugs may under any circumstances be brought into the plant, nor may anyone be under the influence of drugs or liquor. No cameras are allowed on site, and no photographs may be taken on the plant without authorization. No firearms are allowed on site. Please hand in all firearms at security for safekeeping. When ascending or descending stairs, always remember to use 3-point contact. Eyes on path, 1 foot on step, 1 hand on handrail. Never run up or downstairs. All tools or equipment should be checked in at security before entry into the plant. The same rule applies to laptops. While on site, no littering is allowed. Water on site should be used carefully and responsibly. Sasol continues to refine its safety, health and environmental procedures and practices. It also empowers its staff to contribute to good ideas as well as to understand their interdependence on one another and the environment. Remember, you have the right to refuse any unsafe activity and a duty to stop any unsafe behavior you might see on site immediately. This ethic has led to greater productivity, greater respect and greater understanding of each individual's role in continuing to build a globally respected, innovative enterprise that each day reaches new frontiers of excellence in safety.